My uncle sent me a group text by mistake. It was my family mocking me as the Mooch, even though I paid their rent for years. He's useless, can't even afford a holiday present, my cousin wrote. I stayed quiet, until the next utility bill hit. This time, I didn't pay. The entire family showed up, furious, asking, why's the power out? I just said, I'm useless, remember? Then closed the door. You know that saying, family always comes first. Yeah. That line was practically tattooed on my brain since childhood. My mom used to say it like a prayer, especially when my uncle and his family would show up at our door with their never-ending sob stories. And I guess it stuck with me long after she passed away, because for years, I tried to live by it. My name's Ethan, I'm 34, and for the longest time, I was the designated problem solver of my family. The reliable one. The guy who always showed up when everyone else mysteriously vanished. The funny part? I wasn't rich. Not even close. I worked as an HVAC technician, long hours, greasy hands, and a lower back that constantly reminded me I wasn't 20 anymore. I earned enough to live comfortably, but not lavishly. Still, somehow, I became the financial safety net for half my family. It started small. After my mom's funeral, Uncle Rick, her older brother, pulled me aside. He said, Ethan, I know you're grieving, kid. We all are. But your aunt and I could really use some help this month. Rent's overdue, and my job's been a little uncertain. I remember nodding like an idiot. Of course, Uncle Rick. Whatever you need. That was 5 years ago. 5 years of covering rent for them, paying their power bills, chipping in for groceries, and occasionally bailing them out of whatever new emergency they had. Car repairs, overdue phone bills, medical co-pays, you name it, I've paid it. And it wasn't just Uncle Rick and Aunt Denise. Their son, my cousin Tyler, was the worst of them all. 28, unemployed more often than not, always between opportunities. He had this way of twisting things, making me feel guilty for having a steady job. He'd say things like, must be nice, man. You got everything figured out. You're lucky. Lucky. Yeah, lucky to work 60 hours a week fixing other people's air conditioning while he sat around streaming games all day. Still, I helped. Every time. Because I told myself family mattered. Because I thought I was being a good son, a good nephew, a good cousin. But deep down, I think I knew the truth. They didn't see me as family anymore. They saw me as a walking wallet. The pattern became so normal, it was almost routine. Every first week of the month, I'd transfer part of my paycheck to Uncle Rick's account. Then Aunt Denise would text something like, "You're a lifesaver, Ethan. We don't know what we'd do without you." Heart emoji. No mention of paying me back. No discussion about them looking for work. Just gratitude that felt automated. Hollow. If I missed a week, she'd send a reminder disguised as concern. "Hey, sweetie, just checking in. Did you forget to pay the rent? The landlord's been calling again," haha laughing emoji. They never called me unless they needed something. No, "Hey, how's work?" No, "How've you been holding up?" Just bills, rent, and guilt. Christmas used to be the one time I looked forward to seeing them. Mom always loved the holidays, and even after she was gone, I kept the tradition alive. I'd show up at their place with gifts, usually practical stuff. Clothes, home appliances, sometimes toys for Tyler's kid when he briefly had one. But every year, it felt more forced. The last Christmas before everything fell apart, I remember walking into their house carrying 2 grocery bags full of food. Uncle Rick looked up from his recliner and said, "Did you bring the turkey?" "No, hi, Ethan." "No, glad you made it." Just, did I bring the turkey? I laughed it off. "Nice to see you too, Uncle." He smirked. "You know how it is, kid. Somebody's gotta feed the troops." The troops being him, his wife, his son, and whoever else decided to freeload that year. That night, when everyone was asleep, I sat in my car outside their house and stared at the frost building up on my windshield. My reflection looked exhausted. There were bags under my eyes, a crease between my brows that hadn't been there before. I thought about Mom. About how she used to say Rick had a good heart, just bad luck. But after 5 years of bad luck, I wasn't sure that heart was good anymore. Still, I didn't stop helping. Because I was raised to believe you don't turn your back on family. Even when they're draining you dry. By the time the next winter rolled around, I was juggling my own financial problems. My truck needed a new transmission, rent on my small apartment had gone up, and work had slowed down because of the off-season. So when Aunt Denise called one morning, I already knew what she wanted. "Ethan, sweetheart," she started, her voice sugary and fake. "How are you doing?" "I'm okay," I said cautiously. "Just tired." "Been busy." "Oh, that's good. You're such a hard worker. We're so proud of you, you know that." There it was, the warm-up. "What's going on, Aunt Denise?" I asked. "Well," she sighed dramatically. "Our power bill's overdue again. And you know how cold it's been lately. We just need a little help, honey. Just until Rick gets his unemployment check." That check had been coming for over 2 years now. I rubbed my temples. "How much?" "Only $187. That's all." I closed my eyes, exhaled, and said, "I'll send it after work." "Oh, you're an angel. We'll pay you back soon, promise." They never did. A week later, I was sitting on my couch after work, eating leftovers and scrolling through my phone when I got a new message notification. A group text. The title read, "Family Christmas Plans." I didn't think much of it. I figured it was from Aunt Denise organizing another dinner. But as I tapped it open, the first message that popped up froze me. "Tyler, we all agreed he's not bringing that store-bought pie again, right? Tasted like cardboard last year." Aunt Denise, haha, oh god yes. "I'll tell him we're doing a different dessert this year." Uncle Rick, better tell him not to come empty-handed. He's gotta at least cover the ham or something. Cousin Tyler again, yeah right. The Mooch can't even afford a holiday present. Uncle Rick, he's useless unless he's paying our bills. Maybe we should remind him how family works. I just sat there, staring. My name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't need to be. I knew exactly who the Mooch was. Me. The guy paying their rent. The guy who'd kept their lights on. The guy who skipped fixing his own truck last month because he sent them money for their heating bill. My stomach twisted. My heart felt like it was collapsing in on itself. I scrolled up, hoping maybe I was misreading something, maybe it was an inside joke. But it wasn't. The whole thread was filled with petty, arrogant, self-satisfied jabs. "He always dresses like he's going to fix something. You'd think he'd buy a new jacket for once. He's single for a reason. No woman wants a boring handyman. Maybe he'll surprise us with something cheap again, like last year. Bless his heart." Then, one from Aunt Denise. "He means well. But honestly, I don't think he's ever gonna amount to much. At least he's good for bills." I don't remember how long I stared at my phone. Minutes? Hours? Time just stopped. The rage hit me in slow waves, first confusion, then disbelief, then pure, simmering anger. They called me a mooch? After everything I'd done for them? I replayed every favor, every late-night transfer, every time I'd said, "Don't worry, I got it." They hadn't just used me, they'd laughed about it. My hands were shaking when I realized what had happened. They must have meant to exclude me from the group chat, but someone, maybe Aunt Denise, accidentally left my number in the list. A mistake. And in that mistake, I finally saw them for who they really were. I didn't reply. I didn't call. I just read the messages over and over until the anger settled into something cold. Something final. Because in that moment, I decided I was done being their provider. Done being their emotional punching bag. Done being the mooch. That night, I went to bed, but I didn't sleep much. My thoughts kept circling back to one sentence Uncle Rick had sent. "He's useless unless he's paying our bills." It echoed in my head like a curse. By the time the sun came up, my decision was made. Next month, when their bills were due, I wouldn't send a single cent. Let's see how useless I really was then. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. For a second, I thought maybe one of them realized their mistake and was about to apologize. Maybe they'd noticed I was in that group chat and wanted to make things right. But no. It was a text from Aunt Denise. "Morning, sweetheart. Don't forget Tyler's birthday dinner this weekend. Can you bring that lasagna you made last time? Everyone loved it." I stared at the message for a while, feeling that familiar bitterness rise in my chest. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because now I wanted to see how long it would take before someone acknowledged what they'd said. How long before one of them grew a conscience. Days passed. Nothing. No one mentioned the group chat. No one apologized. No one even hinted at it. It was business as usual. Uncle Rick called 2 days later, pretending like nothing happened. "Ethan, my boy," he said with that fake warmth he always used when he needed something. "Hey, quick thing, the power company's been giving us grief again. You mind just sending the payment directly to them this time?" Denise misplaced the bill. There it was. No shame. No hesitation. I swallowed the anger sitting heavy in my throat. "How much?" "About $250 this month. Rates went up, you know how it is." I looked out the window at the frost-covered street, my breath fogging the glass. I thought about the message, "He's useless unless he's paying our bills." I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I said quietly, "I'll think about it." Rick laughed like it was a joke. "Think about it? You never think about it, Ethan. You always come through. That's why we love you." I almost said something right then, something sharp enough to draw blood, but I held back. Let him think everything was fine. Let them all think I was still the same soft fool they could guilt into anything. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, and stared at my online banking app. I could see every transfer I'd made to them over the years. It added up to thousands. Thousands I could have used to fix my truck, take a trip, start saving for a house, anything. But instead, I'd kept them comfortable. They had power, food, heat. I had empty pockets and a permanent headache. I closed the laptop. My decision was final. This time, I wouldn't pay. The end of the month came fast. Normally, I'd get a series of polite reminders, texts like, "Hey sweetie, rent's due, just a heads up red heart," or "You're an angel, Ethan, thank you again." But this time, I said nothing. I ignored their calls. I kept my phone on silent. It started with a few missed calls from Aunt Denise. Then a text from Tyler. "Yo, bro, rent's due today. You send it yet?" I didn't respond. 3 hours later, another text. "Guess not. Whatever. Just don't wait too long or we'll be screwed." That one made me laugh bitterly. We'll be screwed. As if I was part of their household. By the next morning, the tone had shifted. "Aunt Denise, hey, Ethan, I hope you're okay. We haven't gotten the rent payment yet. The landlord's getting antsy. Uncle Rick, everything good, kid? You know how the first of the month sneaks up on you sometimes." Sneaks up on me? It had been sneaking up on them for years. 3 days passed. The messages turned colder. "Rick, what's going on? You ignoring us now?" "Denise, Ethan, this isn't funny. We really need that payment. I thought you cared about family." That line, "I thought you cared about family," lit a fuse in me. I cared. God, I always cared. That was the problem. I didn't respond. Then, on the 4th day, the phone rang. Uncle Rick. I let it ring out. He called again. Then again. On the 5th call, I finally answered. His voice came through the speaker, already irritated. "What the hell's going on, Ethan? Why haven't you sent the payment?" "I decided not to this month," I said, calm, almost too calm. A pause. Then laughter. "Not to? What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean I'm not paying your bills anymore." There was silence. Then the sound of him scoffing. "You're joking." "No. I'm serious. Come on, kid. Don't be dramatic. You know we're tight on money. It's just temporary. 5 years is a long time to be temporary." His tone shifted. He was getting defensive now. "Ethan, we're family. We look out for each other." "Funny," I said. "That's not what you said in that group chat." The line went dead quiet. Then, after a long pause, Rick said carefully, "What group chat?" "The one where you called me useless. The one where Tyler called me a mooch. You know, the one you accidentally added me to." He didn't respond. I could hear his breathing though, slow, heavy, calculating. Finally, he said, "Ethan, you're taking that out of context." "Context?" I repeated. "You spent half the thread laughing about how pathetic I am." "I saw it all, Rick." He started to stammer. "Look, we were just blowing off steam. It wasn't personal. It was about me." "How is that not personal?" "You're being sensitive, kid." That was it. That one word, sensitive, pushed me over the edge. You know what, Rick? Maybe I am. Maybe I'm tired of being the family's punching bag. Maybe I'm tired of working 60 hours a week so you can sit around pretending to be the victim. Hey, watch your mouth. No, I interrupted. You watch yours. Because this is the last time we're having this conversation. Pay your own damn bills. Then I hung up. For the first time in years, I felt something strange. Relief. It wasn't joy exactly, it was more like a quiet release, a weight being lifted from my shoulders. I went to work the next day, fixed a few air conditioners, came home, made dinner. My phone kept buzzing all evening, but I didn't check it. I didn't need to. I knew what the messages said before I even looked. The next morning, I finally glanced through them. Aunt Denise, Ethan, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this isn't right. We're your family. Tyler, what's your problem, dude? You mad about something stupid again? Rick, I can't believe you do this to us after everything we've done for you. Everything they'd done for me. I laughed so hard it almost scared me. A few days later, I got another call from Rick. I ignored it. Then Denise tried. I ignored her too. But then she sent a voicemail. I listened to it out of morbid curiosity. Her voice was trembling, like she was trying to sound desperate but not too desperate. Ethan, honey, please call us back. We don't know what's going on, but our power's about to get cut off. You can't just leave us hanging like this. You've always helped before. You're better than this. Better than this. That phrase echoed in my mind for hours. Better than what? Standing up for myself? Refusing to be used? I didn't call her back. By the end of the week, the silence turned into panic. It started with another text from Tyler. Yo, power just got shut off. You happy now? You could have just said you were mad instead of acting like a psycho. Then Denise again. The lights went out. We're freezing in here. Rick can't even get through to the company without the account info. Can you please just pay this once? Reading those messages should have made me feel guilty. It didn't. It felt like justice. 5 years of being treated like I was worthless, and now they finally knew what life looked like without me. I didn't reply. That night, I slept better than I had in months. 2 days later, there was a knock on my door. A hard one. Persistent. I checked the peephole. It was them. Uncle Rick, Aunt Denise, and Tyler, standing on my porch in thick coats, their faces tight with anger. For a moment, I thought about not answering. But something inside me wanted them to see me calm, collected, unbothered. I opened the door. Rick started talking immediately. What the hell, Ethan? Why'd you stop paying? We're freezing in there. I leaned against the doorframe. Because I'm useless, remember? His face went pale. Denise's mouth dropped open. Tyler looked between us, confused for a moment before realizing I'd read the chat. Rick stammered, Ethan, listen. No, I said flatly. You listen. You think I don't know what you all say about me when I'm not around? You think I don't know how you mock me while I'm out here killing myself to keep your lights on? Denise's voice wavered. We didn't mean it. It was just jokes. You know how families tease. Tease? I said. You called me pathetic. You called me useless. You called me a mooch. Rick stepped forward. Don't twist our words. We were frustrated, that's all. You can't just stop helping your family over a misunderstanding. I stared at him. A misunderstanding? He tried again, quieter this time. Ethan, we need you. For years, that sentence had been my trigger. My cue to pull out my wallet and fix their problems. But this time, I felt nothing but disgust. You don't need me, I said. You need my money. There's a difference. Denise's eyes welled up, whether from guilt or manipulation, I couldn't tell. Ethan, please. Just this once. I shook my head slowly. You'll figure it out, I said. Then I closed the door. Their voices echoed through the wood for a few minutes, shouting, pleading, cursing, but I didn't open it again. I stood there in the quiet, heart pounding, but for once, it wasn't from anger. It was from peace. For the next week, my phone didn't stop buzzing. At first, it was the same cycle, calls, messages, guilt trips. But when I didn't respond, the tone shifted. The pleas turned into accusations. You're selfish, Ethan. You've changed. Your mother would be ashamed of you. That last one almost made me lose my composure. They always used my mother as leverage. They knew she was my weak spot, the one person whose opinion still mattered to me, even though she'd been gone for nearly a decade. I sat there staring at that message for a long time. Then I wrote back, just once. My mother taught me to help people who respect me. You don't qualify. And that was it. I turned my phone off for 2 days straight. When I finally turned it back on, there were dozens of voicemails. The first few were angry. The next few sounded desperate. And the last one was pure rage, Rick shouting into the phone, saying I was ungrateful, that I was turning my back on the family that raised me. That part made me laugh out loud. Raised me? They were barely around when Mom was alive. They only showed up when she was sick enough to need help they never offered. I deleted every message. 2 days later, I came home from work and found an envelope taped to my apartment door. It was from Aunt Denise. The handwriting was neat, like she'd really taken her time with it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It read, "Ethan. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you've really hurt us. We depended on you. We trusted you. Your uncle's blood pressure is through the roof because of this. You've caused so much stress, and for what? Over a few stupid messages? We were joking. You've always been the responsible one. You've always taken care of us. You're better than this. Please don't let pride ruin what little family you have left. Love. Aunt Denise." I folded the note and tossed it into the trash. It wasn't love. It was manipulation dressed up in polite words. I'd seen this pattern too many times. Hurt feelings only mattered when their comfort was at risk. The next week was quiet. Unnaturally quiet. No calls. No knocks. No texts. Part of me wondered if maybe they'd finally given up. Then one evening, as I was eating dinner, my phone buzzed with a new message, from my cousin Grace. She wasn't part of that inner circle of leeches. She'd moved out of state years ago, built her own life. She wrote, "Hey, Ethan. Just wanted to check in. Heard some things from Uncle Rick. You okay?" I frowned. Heard some things. That phrase never meant anything good. "Yeah, I'm fine," I replied. "What did he say?" A few minutes later, she sent back. "He told the family you cut them off without warning. Said you're having some kind of breakdown. Everyone's talking about it. Of course. They couldn't handle looking like the bad guys. So they spun a story that made me sound unstable. Typical. Figures," I wrote back. "Don't believe a word of it." "I don't," she said. "I know how they are. Just wanted to hear your side." I thanked her, and for the first time in weeks, I actually smiled. Grace had always been different, quiet, independent, not a parasite like the rest. Then she added, "You know they're planning to show up at your place again, right? Rick was bragging about talking sense into you." I could practically feel the heat rising in my chest. They still didn't get it. They thought if they yelled loud enough, guilt me hard enough, I'd fold like I always had. Not this time. Sure enough, 2 nights later, around 8 in the evening, there was a pounding on my door. I didn't even need to check who it was. Rick's voice bellowed from the other side. "Ethan. Open up. We need to talk." I stayed seated on the couch, calm, listening to the rhythm of his fists hitting the door. After a minute, the pounding stopped. Then came Denise's voice, whining, pleading. "Ethan, please. Just come out and talk to us. The landlord's threatening to evict us. We don't know what to do." I didn't move. Then Tyler's voice joined in, dripping with frustration. "Man, this is ridiculous. You're acting like a psycho over a stupid text thread." That did it. I stood up, walked slowly to the door, and opened it just enough for them to see my face. Rick's expression was furious. Denise looked on the verge of tears. Tyler looked ready to fight. "Why are you doing this?" Rick demanded. I stared at him. "Doing what?" "Cutting us off like this. Leaving us to freeze. You can't just walk away from your family." I leaned against the doorframe. "I didn't walk away. You pushed me out." Denise shook her head quickly. "No, Ethan, that's not true. We were just joking. You know how we talk. You can't take things so personally." "Joking," I repeated, my voice low. "You call me useless, pathetic, a mooch, and that's a joke. Rick snapped, "You're twisting our words again. We were venting, all right? You think we don't get tired of depending on you? Then stop depending on me." He clenched his jaw. "You owe us. After everything we've done for you." That line nearly made me laugh out loud. "You've done nothing for me, Rick. Not one thing. Every dime I've given you, every bill I've paid, that was me cleaning up your messes." Denise stepped forward, trying for sympathy. "We didn't mean to hurt you. We're just struggling, Ethan. You're the only one we can count on." There it was. The real truth. Not love. Not remorse. Just need. "You can't count on me anymore," I said. Then I shut the door. They stood there for a few seconds, maybe expecting me to open it again. When I didn't, Rick started shouting through the wood. "You think this makes you a man? You think cutting off your family makes you strong? You'll regret this, Ethan. Don't come crawling back when you need something." The footsteps faded down the hall. I stood there, breathing slowly, my hands trembling, but it wasn't fear this time. It was power. Real, unfamiliar power. A week passed. Winter deepened. Snow piled up outside my apartment, and the city felt quieter. I heard through Grace that Rick's family finally had their power reconnected, barely. Apparently, they'd borrowed money from someone else to cover the overdue balance. But that wasn't the end of it. They'd started telling people I'd turned my back on them, painting themselves as victims. It spread fast. One afternoon, I ran into an old neighbor of theirs at the hardware store. The guy gave me this disappointed look and said, "Heard you've been ignoring your uncle, Ethan. Tough times, huh?" I just smiled and said, something like that. No point in explaining myself to people who only ever heard one side. Still, it got under my skin. Not because I cared what they thought, but because of how easily my family lied. It made me realize they'd probably been lying about me for years. The lazy nephew, the ungrateful son, the loner. They'd built that image so they could feel better about themselves. Well, let them have it. I wasn't playing their savior anymore. A few weeks later, just before Christmas, I got another message from Grace. "You might want to see this," she wrote. Then she sent me a photo. It was a screenshot from Facebook. Aunt Denise had posted a long paragraph about family betrayal, claiming her sweet nephew had abandoned them when they needed him most. She'd written about how they took him in after his mother passed and how money changed him. And, of course, she ended with a Bible quote about forgiveness. The comments were full of sympathy. "You're too kind, Denise. Some people forget who was there for them. Praying for your family." I stared at the screen, my jaw tightening. They were rewriting history in real time. Turning me into the villain in their story. And it worked, because people love a good sob story. But the thing about lies is, they eventually catch up. A week later, the universe handed me my moment. I was at the hardware store again, picking up parts for a client job, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Tyler. He was talking to the cashier, trying to use a card that kept getting declined. "Try it again, man. I swear there's money on it." The cashier looked uncomfortable. "Sorry, sir. It's not going through." I almost walked away, but then Tyler turned and saw me. His expression changed instantly, from annoyance to forced confidence. "Well, look who it is," he said. "The family traitor." I sighed. "Tyler." He stepped closer, smirking. "You happy now? We're behind on everything. Mom's crying every night. You really proved your point, huh?" "I'm not trying to prove a point," I said. "I just stopped letting you take advantage of me." He laughed bitterly. "You always thought you were better than us." "No," I said quietly. "I just thought you'd eventually try to be better yourselves." For a second, his face softened. Then pride kicked back in. "Whatever, man. You'll regret it. You'll end up alone." I looked him straight in the eyes. Better alone than surrounded by people who only pretend to love me. He didn't have a comeback for that. He just muttered something under his breath and walked out, empty-handed. As I drove home that night, the snow started falling again. The roads were empty, quiet, almost peaceful. For the first time in years, I didn't feel that constant pressure, the guilt, the financial strain, the invisible leash tying me to people who only saw me as useful when I was paying their bills. They could call me selfish, heartless, whatever they wanted. But I knew the truth. I hadn't changed. I just stopped bleeding for people who never bothered to bring bandages. And I wasn't going back. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. No calls. No texts. No, Ethan, sweetheart, we're just checking in. Nothing. The blackout had hit them harder than I expected. I knew their finances were bad, but I underestimated how completely dependent they'd become on me. Rick didn't even have enough saved to keep his lights on for 3 days. Tyler couldn't survive without Wi-Fi long enough to post one of his lazy, grind-set quotes on social media. I thought maybe they'd learn something from it, maybe the darkness would give them a little humility. Maybe they'd realize how much I'd done for them. But humility was never part of their vocabulary. 3 days after the blackout, there was a loud, aggressive knock on my door. It wasn't the kind of knock you mistake for a delivery. It was a "we're here to start something" kind of knock. When I opened it, the whole crew was there, Uncle Rick, Aunt Denise, and Tyler. They looked like a storm brewing on my front porch. Rick's face was red, his hair sticking up like he'd been pacing for hours. Denise had that tight smile she always used when she was pretending to be reasonable, and Tyler was standing behind them, arms crossed, glaring like a sulking teenager. Rick wasted no time. "Why the hell is our power off?" he barked. "You forget to pay it or something?" I leaned on the doorframe, calm. "No, I didn't forget." He blinked. "Then what the hell's going on?" "We called the company, they said the payment didn't come through this month." "Yeah," I said, "that's because I didn't make it." For a second, they just stared at me. Denise blinked like she didn't understand English. Tyler looked at me like I'd just spoken Martian. Rick's face twisted. "What do you mean, you didn't make it?" I folded my arms. "Exactly what I said. I didn't pay your bill. Or your rent. Or any of it." Denise jumped in, her voice rising with panic. "Ethan, honey, don't be ridiculous. You've always helped us. You know how hard things have been." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I know exactly how hard things have been, for me." Rick took a step forward. "What's that supposed to mean?" I could feel my pulse in my neck. Every word I'd wanted to say for years was sitting on my tongue, begging to be let out. "It means," I said, "I've been paying your bills for 5 years while you two sit around doing nothing. It means I've been skipping meals, skipping repairs, skipping my own life just to make sure you're comfortable. And it means I'm done." Rick's voice dropped an octave. "Don't take that tone with me, boy. We're family." I almost laughed. "Yeah. Funny you should bring that up. Because the last time I checked, family doesn't call each other useless behind their backs." That froze them. Denise's mouth fell open slightly. Tyler looked confused, then defensive. "What are you talking about?" Rick asked, his voice quieter but sharper. "I'm talking about the group chat," I said. "The one you accidentally sent me." Tyler's eyes widened, and he muttered, "Oh, crap." Denise went pale. "Ethan, we didn't mean." I cut her off. "You didn't mean to send it, you mean. You meant every word you wrote." No one spoke. The silence was thick and ugly. The only sound was the wind blowing dead leaves across my porch. I took a step closer, my voice low. "You called me a mooch. Said I was useless. Laughed about how cheap I am. All while I was paying to keep your damn lights on. You think I didn't notice how you treated me when I came over? Like I was some servant with a wallet instead of a relative?" Denise tried to recover, her tone turning syrupy again. "Sweetheart, it was just jokes. You know how families tease each other." I stared at her. "No, Denise. You don't joke about someone being useless after they've carried you for half a decade." Rick crossed his arms, defensive now. "You're being dramatic. You think you're better than us because you've had a steady paycheck? Newsflash, Ethan, that doesn't make you special." I felt the anger surge again, but I kept my tone calm. "You're right. It doesn't make me special. It just makes me responsible. Something you've never been." His face went redder. "Watch your mouth." "No," I said, finally stepping fully outside. "You watch yours." They all jumped a little at how sharp my tone came out. My voice was shaking, not from fear, but from restraint. "For years, I let you walk all over me because I thought helping you made me a good person. But I finally realized something. I wasn't helping you, I was enabling you. Every dollar I sent just kept you from facing reality." Tyler scoffed. "So what, you're just cutting us off? Like that?" That's exactly what I'm doing. Rick shook his head, bitter. You think you're punishing us? You'll regret this. You'll see. I met his glare. I already regret every penny I ever gave you. Denise's voice cracked. Ethan, please, we can't go without power. It's winter. Then pay the bill, I said simply. She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up my hand. No. I'm not your savior anymore. You wanted to see how useless I was? Well, now you get to find out. I stepped back and began closing the door. Rick moved like he was about to push it open, but I stopped him cold with one last line. I'm useless, remember? Then I shut the door in their faces. Their voices erupted outside, shouting, swearing, calling my name, but I didn't answer. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a cup of coffee, and sat down at the table, letting the noise fade into the background. For once, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel obligated. I just felt free. They didn't give up easily. Over the next week, I got a barrage of texts and calls. Tyler tried first. Real mature, bro. You left your family freezing. You should be ashamed. Then Denise. Ethan, we're sorry about the misunderstanding. Can we talk? Then Rick. You better fix this, boy, or you'll regret it. Each one got the same response from me, silence. They came by again a few days later. I didn't answer the door. I could hear them talking outside, voices rising, the same entitled anger as always. Ungrateful punk, Rick muttered loudly enough for me to hear. After everything we did for him. That one actually made me laugh. What exactly had they done for me? Complain louder when I didn't send money fast enough? I watched them leave from the window. They looked smaller somehow. Angrier, yes, but also, desperate. Like they were finally realizing I wasn't bluffing this time. The real shift happened about 2 weeks later. I was at work when I got a call from my old neighbor, Mrs. Talbot, who lived a few houses down from Rick and Denise. Ethan, she said, her voice dripping with disapproval, I don't mean to gossip, but your uncle's been out in the street, yelling at the power company again. I sighed. Yeah, I figured something like that might happen. He was shouting about you. Said you ruined his life. I couldn't help but chuckle. He'll live. She paused. You sound different. Different how? Peaceful, she said. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. But she was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't running on guilt or obligation. I wasn't bending backward to fix someone else's mess. I just felt lighter. Of course, my family couldn't stand being ignored. A few days later, Rick left me a voicemail. His tone was less angry this time, more defeated. Look, Ethan, we messed up. I said things I shouldn't have. We all did. But come on, you can't just abandon your family over a few words. I replayed that message a few times. Not because I was tempted to forgive him, but because I wanted to remember how it sounded, the voice of a man who'd run out of people to exploit. I didn't call back. Instead, I took that as closure. By the time Christmas rolled around again, I celebrated alone for the first time in my life. I cooked dinner for one. A small roast, mashed potatoes, a bottle of cheap wine. I sat by the window as snow fell outside and thought about how different everything felt now. No one was calling to ask for money. No one was mocking me behind my back. It was quiet. And that quiet was the best gift I'd ever gotten. But the universe has a sense of humor. Just as I was cleaning up the dishes, my phone buzzed. A message. From Tyler. Merry Christmas. Hope you're happy. Grandpa's sick. Thought you'd want to know. That stopped me cold. I hadn't talked to my grandfather, my mom's dad, in months. He lived in a retirement home across town. Rick had always claimed to handle his visits and bills, but I knew now that meant we visit when we need something. I put down the phone and stared at the message for a long time. Then I grabbed my coat and keys and drove out there. When I arrived, Grandpa was sitting by the window in his room, bundled in a blanket, looking thinner than I remembered. But when he saw me, his face lit up. Ethan, my boy, he said, voice weak but warm. Haven't seen you in a while. I sat beside him. Yeah. I've been busy. He nodded slowly. Your uncle stopped coming around. Said things got tight. I felt a bitter laugh rise in my chest. Yeah, that sounds about right. Grandpa looked at me with those tired, knowing eyes. You finally stopped helping them, didn't you? I blinked. How did you? I'm old, not blind, he said. I've seen what they've been doing to you. Your mother would be proud you finally stood up for yourself. That hit me harder than I expected. For the first time in a long time, I felt something shift, not just relief, but vindication. I reached for his hand and said quietly, "Thanks, Grandpa." He smiled faintly. Family's supposed to lift you up, not weigh you down. I nodded. I think I finally understand that. When I left that night, the snow had started again, soft and slow. I stood by my truck, breathing in the cold air, feeling the weight of years of obligation finally melt off my shoulders. They called me useless. But the truth was, without me, they were the ones who couldn't function. And that realization was better than revenge, it was justice.